Hey, what's up? This is Gary Holt, and I'm here to tell everyone to subscribe to Lamb Chopper on YouTube.
Hey, welcome back to the show, guys. Let's check out Rick and Gary's super aggressive tone from Impact is Imminent using the Marshall DSL 20H and a few stomps on the floor today. I've been an Exodus fan for years, as I'm sure you all know, and one of the things that gravitates me towards Exodus is the guitar tones have always been absolutely crushing. It's always been just a really aggressive Marshall based tone that's scooped but really focused and just has like all the elements I love of a guitar tone. And I think looking back on Impact is Imminent, it's a really brutal, heavy record. It's not really hooky and catchy and followed the era in the 90s there with the movement with Nirvana, and Metallica did the Black Album and so forth, and sort of music changed a little bit. I think this stayed true to the roots, and it's absolute brutal thrash, and it deserves more credit than what it gets. And if you haven't listened to it for a while, I suggest you do, because there's some of the best songs on there. I've really enjoyed it. And so tuning for this album is standard tuning, EOD-GB, but it's down a quarter step, so if you set your tuner to 425 Hertz, you'll be on the money, just like some of the songs off Cowboys from Hell, that same sort of tuning that Dime had. I think by dropping tunings just a quarter step, riffs do sound heavier. It's just, Dime always said it and I agree with it. Things just sound a little bit off. We're so used to hearing things in 440 that you go down to 425 and you're just not sure if it's an E or an E flat or whatever. It just makes things a lot cooler. So the tone itself, it's got a really beefy bottom end, it's really scooped as well, but it's got a super aggressive midsection that makes the guitars punch through on the mix, and they're just so prominent on this album. As far as the DSL goes, how I've got things set, nothing's really drastic at all. I've taken all the reverb out of the mix. The bass and the resonance I've just sort of played off against each other to try and get as fat a bottom end as I can, but I don't want things to be flabby at all. The mids I've just pushed a little bit past lunchtime just so you can cut through the mix, because we're scooping them out afterwards. And the gain we've just rolled back slightly because we're pushing so hard on the front end of this. Tones like this is where the DSL absolutely shines. It's exactly where it needs to be. Like a modded 800, I guess, and Todd Langner's 800s that Gary has, the best damn amps on the planet, I feel. If Gary said that recording Tempo of the Damned, he just plugged those straight into the front end and recorded it. And if that's true, then that's amazing. So going from the head down to the pedal board, I've got the Boss NS2 in the 4-cable method, quietening both the effects loop and the front end. And so building the front end of this tone just the way that I want it to be really aggressive and really punching through the mix. It comes down to the Super Overdrive SD1 and the MXR 6-band EQ. Having the EQ downstream of the overdrive really brings out the actual nuances in the guitar itself, and it's a lot easier to sculpt the tone and it'll sound a lot better. So just remember, always EQs on the output side of the overdrives. Running the SD1, I've got the drive down to nothing and the tone and level set to 12 o'clock. And really all that does is just focus the tone and sharpen things up a little bit, make things tighter. And then moving down from that, we get to the 6-band. And I've scooped out a lot of the bass frequencies coming into the amp just to keep things really tight in that front end so you can get a really fierce attack. We're pushing the top to higher mids there, and it really gives you that like a scratchy. I'll just turn off the MXR 6-band right now just so you can see how it changes that aggressive tone in the front. And turning that back on. You can really feel that that adds a lot of that dynamic to the front end to make things really aggressive. So now I'll just turn off the Boss SD1 and you can hear the tone without it. Just turned it on. You can hear how the SD1 really it just sharpens things up, makes things a bit more focused, a little bit more aggressive and edgy and scratchy. So that's more or less the tone we're looking for. So now we get down to the effects loop where I've got the MXR 10-band, and this really is the most powerful tool on the pedal board just to sculpt the amp in the output just so it sounds the way you want it to sound. And I've really boosted the bass on this to give it a huge low end. We've scooped out the mids where we were pushing them in both the front end and on the amp, and just adding those frequencies back to the high end just to give it that little bit of edge on the top of the tone. So you can see how this is set, and this seems to be a really common way that I'm tuning this pedal to suit a lot of albums. Even though I start by scratch every week and redo these tones, and I pretty much set everything back to neutral, and there's so many ways to build a tone. At the end of the day, I often end up seeing the EQ pedal look the same as this in most of the videos. If you're not sure and you're using this in an effects loop, just set it like that and see how you go. Since I started doing these tone chasing videos, I get a lot of questions from guys asking what pedals they should buy, should they get this or that. And in all honesty, I would say just get those four. Get the MXR 10-band, get the MXR 6, get yourself an overdrive and a Boss NS2 in the front. It's not going to affect the tone, but it will quieten things down. But having at least the 2 EQs and an overdrive in the front, you can sculpt just about any tone out there. And so lastly, for anyone wondering, this is a Jackson KVX made in Indonesia with the Seymour Duncan Thrash Factor pickups, the Dave Mustaine signatures, and it's absolutely killer sounding. It's really heavy, it's just got a great tone for it, and I love playing it. For capture in today's recording, I'm not using the SM57 like I usually do on the Meza cab. We're actually going through the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X, and this unit simulates a cab and microphone setup as well as it works as a power soak. It's just a fantastic invention, and it works so well, and it's noise free. Like, there's no noise in this room apart from just the strings of my guitar, but I'm hearing it all through my headphones. And it's a great way to practice. I get a lot of questions about guys, what amp to buy and so forth. And if you have one of these, you can buy any amp. It attenuates the signal and soaks up all the power. You can have headphones in the front end and get a great sound straight to your audio interface to record. And one thing I've noticed though, which could be a downside, is that since I've been using real amps and going through things like the Torpedo or live miking, I'm finding that using amp sims back on the computer, they don't sound right to me anymore. I don't enjoy using them as much anymore. The sound that I'm getting just isn't the same as a real amp. As much as they all claim to be, it's just not right to me. So anyone wondering, you've got some great amps at home, get yourself a Torpedo Captor X and you can practice and use it any time of the day. Use it at night, use it when kids are sleeping, whatever. That's a great invention that works with all your gear. So all that being said, guys, Impact is Imminent. Absolutely classic killer album. Super aggressive. I just think it was too aggressive for the time and no one was ready for it. So have a listen now and you'll truly appreciate it for what it is. And I'll see you next week, guys. Take care. All the best.